I've mentioned it a few times before, but I work for a nonprofit located just outside of Pogradec in southeastern Albania. And one of the projects that Sam, my boss, has been working on for the last year and a half.
It's now almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years is we own a small parcel of land right near the lake, and he's been working on a little permaculture farming type of thing.
I would have Leo work on that actually.
Too much excitement. Sam is going to give a little tour of the farm here, the farm, and talk a little bit about how this sort of farming could be beneficial to Albania as a whole, right? Yep. Okay.
Maybe I can explain a little bit like the history of this part of the land, and I will come back to why this is important, maybe to small farmers or Albanian homesteaders.
Right.
Basically, people having a small strip of land. I think it's normally a little bit less than 2 acres that they have in Albania, or 1 acre. This land was, I would call, abused because the original earth was dug out. So they excavated all the good soil and dumped from constructions the leftovers. Also my neighbors who grow professionally, they basically said, forget about it, you will not grow anything of value in this strip of land.
Right.
And the first experiments with some tomatoes, some peppers, they just would not grow without adding any chemical fertilizer, and then soon many diseases hit. So of course then comes the pesticide. I was asking myself, this cannot be how nature deals with things. Like, how can it be that a plant cannot grow healthy without the human basically trickle feeding it these chemicals?
Right.
And so that's where I started going deeper into the research of regenerative farming, permaculture principles. Basically, I found, for me, the missing link in this soil is the microbiology, which are fungi, microbes, earthworms, and all those things. You put them in your irrigation water and just irrigate them frequently. You leave the soil life alone. You let it grow naturally. And they then will take care of a lot of problems for you. Later, when the plants get healthier and stronger because they have allies in the soil, also insects and other pests, they will not easily attack your plants. So you don't need pesticides. That's all I'm doing on this land, and for 2 years now, I can say that it really changed the shape. In the beginning, it looks like a weedy patch of different grasses and stuff, but actually you see rows of tomatoes which are just planted directly into soil. I've not tilled it, I've not got rid of all the other plants. I've just mowed it, and I'm trying to get plants like more clover and these shorter plants. And only where I'm planting the crop, I actually dig a hole and then cover it really well up so it doesn't dry out, and I do not have too much other grasses competing for water. With the drip irrigation, I'm watering it once a day a little bit, and every once a week I give it these microorganisms that I grow in these composts. So also my neighbor's growing in this zone. He comes by, looks at the health of the plants, and he says, for this location, for this time of the year, that's the best tomatoes he's seen right now. Here on this specific part, because we have also the lake very near and it gets very moist, tomatoes usually have a lot of different fungal diseases, and I'm not getting any of those, almost none. I might have 2 of those. We can look at the other side. This is like normally like a tilled space.
Right.
And I had to start from really ground zero because there were just I could not get a shovel into the ground because it was just rocks and really bad. So I had to break it up once, and now I'm feeding it these microorganisms. And I will show you a patch of land in the greenhouse, which is the same soil, but there I already did this process.
Okay.
And you could basically dig in with your hands. We have more fruit trees. We have apricots a lot, apples, cherries, and I'm trying to see which kind of trees do well here. So it might change. They're too close together right now, but I will select which kind of varieties grow well here and then just work together with nature, as you say, to get the right species for this place. So it's actually still in the process that I'm finding out, okay, what does well here without pesticides? Because you can keep anything here with enough pesticides, fungicides, fertilizer,
Right, of course.
but I'm trying to get rid of that just because of all the health consequences that they bear.
Redemption glow.
So this is some of the weeds and grasses that I would want to get rid of slowly because they stick in all over your socks and feet once they're ripe.
Thanks for warning me before I came.
I'm sorry. So look at this now. These are my apricots this year.
Oh wow! How many did you have last year?
5.
Total.
5.
How many trees do you have?
I think there are about 15 to 20 apricot trees. So here you see, for example, that I get a lot of insects. they like this plant, and I'm still fine with that as long as I see I'm getting fruit.
Right.
And I'm trying to get the trees as healthy as I can, because then during that time also natural enemies of this bug will occur, and it will balance itself out if I create enough living space.
Right.
For the other insects and predators of that insect. But this year it turned out to be nice. My neighbor, again, he's really helping me and wants to see how is this working. And this always brings him to the point where he gives me any help, like he gave me the greenhouse. That's where I understood that, okay, these kind of things, they are interesting also to other people in Albania maybe, because more and more people understand the problems of heavy pesticide use. And especially bigger farmers are getting into this conventional agriculture, which uses a lot of chemical fertilizers, and it is really a short-term process.
Right.
So it will not go well long in the same piece of land. And what do you do with the land? So what I'm doing here is basically reversing that process. And every farmer in the region who has problems with the land because he's overused it somehow, he can come here and see, okay, this is what I can do to actually get it back alive. And this could become an interesting aspect. So this is the normal lettuce that you find everywhere here.
Yeah.
So that you just harvest leaf by leaf for your household, or you if you want to sell bigger amounts, you just harvest all of it. Now here is an example. We have onions, and we use them as spring onions, and you have cucumbers, you have lettuces, and you have tomatoes. Now you can only do this if you have enough fertility in the soil and if you have enough water to do that.
Right.
So, but we, as you can see, we're growing just fine.
Everything in this bed is edible. It's food, right?
Almost, yeah. There are some nice flowers which we planted there just because we liked flowers. But other than that, everything is edible.
And is this the soil from outside?
So this is actually the chickens go through the leaf mold and like make good compost out of it. They do the work for us. And so, but we make sure that there are a lot of these microorganisms in it by watering them in. So in this bed before, like we had arugula, and we had that in January. So this bed has been producing and producing and producing. Like here you see the other lettuce heads. They really grew huge, and I did not put anything on that except for the compost and the microorganisms. On the other side, you can see this is normal soil, and I did not water microorganisms. The lettuces were almost planted at the same time. These ones here, the back ones here, they were planted at the same time. Then these ones and these ones were planted also at the same time. This method is basically doing the work for me.
Right.
I just have to provide basic needs for the plants and water and light, and then they grow. Well, here I have to take care, okay, is the soil, do I have to loosen it up? Do I have to pick out the weeds? Oh, do they need water today? Do they need water midday because it was hot? So I have to come here much more frequently for this piece of land than for this. And what's really interesting when you compare them to like bought lettuces, if you pick them in the right time, like you should pick them in the morning before they get hot, if you pick them in the right time, you can keep them in the fridge for 2 weeks and they will stay in shape. Like they will really be still as fresh as you pick them. But if you buy lettuce on the market, it will really fall down really quick.
That's one thing that I noticed coming here in Albania instead of being in the US, is that when I buy vegetables and fruit, it wilts faster. My mom used to buy like a 5-pound bag of carrots, and it would sit in the refrigerator for months. But now, like, I'm here and I buy carrots and they're like floppy within a day or two. Which, I mean,
I haven't found out what this is exactly, but I've just noticed that lettuces that I grow here, and they tend to be well and eatable way longer than bought vegetables.
it's gotta be the pesticides, right?
I have no idea, to be honest. Where my neighbor told me that it's the nitrate they grow them up with artificially. So the added nitrate, so the chemical fertilizer,
Right.
which makes them wilt quicker. But I haven't really researched that. And here is the part where we planted today, and it's the same soil or the same ground that was in the other field. And when we dug in here, I mean it crumbles apart. You can just dig into it almost with your hands. And this is because we don't step on it, and we don't till it. The roots of the other grasses, they have really loosened it up. And then the microorganisms do the rest. So that's what we've been doing here. And we're really curious to see how these tomatoes will do in comparison to the plants that we will plant on the newly tilled field. So we just throw everything that we find, organic material, every leaf, every branch, every hay that we cut, we just throw it into the chickens, and they eat what they like, and then it falls on the ground, they scratch around, and we come here and just pile it up, and they scratch it down again, we pile it up again, and we use that then as compost. And this is what typically, this is the size of a chicken coop that also an Albanian family would have near their house somewhere, speaking for the villages mostly. Huh?
Right.
So what I found is that in Albania there are still very, very well founded methods, farming methods that are super healthy for the soil and for the humans.
Right.
But because this more modern agriculture is coming in so fast, they tend to not use them anymore. And then only the elder people still know them. the kids don't want to know much about them, so they get forgotten. And I feel that's a pity because, like I said, in Albania the natural farming methods were very dominant only some years ago. But what I'm finding out here is that I have so much less maintenance that I can have a full-time job and have this in the end. Like if my house was here, I can do my chores in half an hour, maybe 1 hour in the morning, and then you come back from work and you do maybe half an hour again. I'm not speaking about the building up of this whole thing. Like this takes a lot of time, a lot of experimentation. That's the process in which we are right now.
You've been working on it for 2 years, and you're still in the building.
Exactly. And I've tried so many things. I've learned a lot of things. Many things failed, and now I have dialed-in systems that are so low maintenance and so low input that actually, when I sell them, I can sell them at a higher price because they are really biologically grown, and people believe in these methods and products that I'm selling. And the profit in the end is bigger than in a conventional way because I'm not using so much inputs.
Thoughts lost in the flowers, tales washed away.
So I know that this is a little bit of a different style than what I usually make. And that's on purpose. I want to make more of these documentary style videos about stories in Albania. I don't want to stick just with tourist information. I'm not moving away from the tourist information, but these are the things that I'm passionate about. These are the stories that I want to tell, and this is the place that I want to tell them. And so having an audience that I can tell them to and I can get the ball rolling is great. I know a lot of you are probably here to watch me make videos about what I can buy in Albania for 10 euros. And those videos, I'll still make those, but occasionally you can expect something more like this. So if you got to this point, thanks for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you next week.